You ever notice how kids just like act weird in class and teachers don't notice it?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of kids in our classes that are a lot more depressed. You know what I'm saying?
They just like act different compared to everyone else, and they're like so down.
Yeah, and then we have those things like the SEL learning, and I mean, yes, it helps, but like, does it actually help?
It doesn't really help that much because they come in with the same attitude every day.
Yeah, no kids actually like focusing on that. To be honest, you could see the kids always. They're like
on their phones. They're
head
ignoring
down.
it. They don't care.
No one cares about SEL because it's not entertaining. It's not fun. It's not getting them involved either.
It's really boring to the kids.
But SEL, you know what that stands for, right?
It focuses on self-awareness.
No, but you know what it stands for, though, right?
What?
It stands for social emotional learning. That's what it is. Social emotional learning. That's what it stands for. If I remembered correctly. Yep, that's what it stands for. But there's 5 things to SEL.
Self-awareness?
Self-awareness is one of them, yes.
Self-management?
Yeah.
Social awareness?
Oh, yeah.
Relationship skills? And making responsible decisions, but you can't always make responsible decisions because everyone can make mistakes.
Exactly. And what is really the responsible decision? You know what I mean?
Thinking before you do something, really.
Right. That's what they say, but...
You can't... But not all the time you can have time to think before you make a decision.
Exactly. And
it may be the right decision in that time, but then later on it might not be.
No, and what I'm also trying to say is another thing, think before you act. Teachers, think before they act too.
Yeah, it's not just the kids that should act, because the teachers can act different too, and they don't get in trouble when the student does something.
Like, for instance, if my teacher was giving me a bad grade for no reason, even though me and my friend have the same answers, right?
You use the same paper, and you guys are in a group, and she gives you a better grade, but you get a less grade. Why do you get the smaller grade, but it's a partner group thing?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right?
Why is the teacher doing that to some student? And then the student starts to think, what's wrong with me?
Exactly.
Is there something wrong with me because I didn't get a good grade?
And then they're always saying how teachers how teachers should be involved with their students, but what are they actually doing to get involved?
Some teachers don't help students.
Almost half the teachers don't help students.
Like, students ask for help in class and say, oh yeah, I'll help you. Then they don't help them when they ask for help.
Yeah, or
they send them emails, they don't respond. They raise their hand in class, they don't get picked on.
Yeah, and then also, if you need help or like you send them emails or something like that, they'll just forget about it and won't even respond. And if you have a missing assignment and you like finished it and you tell them, oh, I have this missing assignment, they might not even care about it.
They don't really care. They'll give you half credit and move on.
Exactly.
And it can mess someone's GPA up in multiple ways.
And it can mess their mentality
up at the same time because they're like, what's wrong with me?
And so according to this website, I looked it up a while ago. According to something called SAM HSA at the end, right? And that stands for Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, right? That's what it stands for.
Yeah.
One of the questions, like the main topic, right? It was what educators should look for in student behavior, and this is, I have it written down. The things that they said you should look for is, like extreme difficulty in concentrating, but like that's normal. Some kids have ADHD.
Yeah, that is normal.
And you can't change that. You can't change that about a person. If you have not HHD, but
you can't
ADD
concentrate. You can't concentrate in class.
ADHD, yeah, you can't do anything. And then another thing they also said is like mood swings that can cause problems in relationships. I guess that could work.
That could work, but it's come and go. It just depends because they're teenagers.
Yeah, and another one is drastic changes in student behavior or personality. And the thing is, here's the big part about that. Teachers don't notice something wrong with you until you have a extreme change in your behavior or the way your grades are.
Yeah, they don't pay attention to the small things. They pay attention to the big things.
Like, the students that aren't getting the best grades, they don't care about them. They don't do anything to help them out.
No, they sit there and say, you need to get your grades up.
Yeah,
maybe focus more in class. Maybe study, but then what if they are studying and they just don't care?
Yeah. And they also let them just do their own thing. They don't want to actually try to help them out. And I mean, some teachers do, right? Don't get me wrong. We have some teachers.
Well, then there's some teachers that pick on them.
Yeah.
That doesn't make the situation better at all. It just makes it worse.
And then, like, say you're failing in class, and the teacher's like, "Oh, you don't want to be like this guy." Like, how does that affect your mental health? That's not good to be picked on by your own teacher. I mean, maybe if they're making fun of you and you have a good grade in that class, that's okay. But if you're actually struggling and they're picking on you
it doesn't help you. It makes everything worse, and it just gets into the kid's head.
Exactly. And what educators can do in classrooms and schools, right? And these are some topics that they said that they could do. One of them is learn more about mental health by taking a mental health awareness training.
That can work, but
that could work.
But there's some things you can't always notice.
Yeah. Another thing that they said is promote social and emotional competency and build resilience. That doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work at all. I mean, there's studies that show it doesn't work.
You cannot get a kid that doesn't want to be social to become social.
Yeah, because if he wants to if he doesn't want to be social, he doesn't have to be social. He can pick what he wants.
Like introverts and extroverts.
Yes.
Like you cannot.
That's just their personality. That's just their personality.
Exactly. And another thing that they said is encourage good physical health. The kid could be ripped for all we know, and
It doesn't matter how they look; it's how they feel inside. Yeah. You don't know how they feel inside.
Now, something that could be effective is if a kid's getting bullied for being too skinny and they gain a lot of weight.
Yes,
that
might be his way of coping with things.
Yeah, that's a way of coping.
You can't tell.
Yeah, you can it's a way of coping, but it's not the greatest way of coping.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it gets you in shape, but that's really it.
Yeah. Another subject that they had was developing effective school mental health programs. That's a good one. Because we have core, right? And what does core actually? Who pays attention?
No one pays attention to core because everyone thinks it's so boring because they're just sitting there. There's no fun in it. It's just them talking and reading a paragraph, a slide over and over again.
And I'm sorry for our guidance counselors, but core,
it's useless.
Doesn't work. It's just nothing.
Half the people are sleeping there. Half the people are on their phones. They don't care.
Exactly. No one actually cares.
And it's like the only thing they do to try to help out.
And I feel, honestly speaking, if we did like some way of like maybe like an activity outside or something like that, or like something fun, maybe the kids will actually engage.
But just sitting there in a classroom, listening to you read a slide,
no one's gonna like that.
No one likes it. Okay, watching a video, it's boring.
Remember when we did those like those things outside for was it like homecoming?
Yeah.
Or for football or something like that?
That was fun.
That was fun. People got engaged into it.
Yeah, but then the other stuff we do it's not fun.
It's just boring, yeah.
I would say there's just things teachers need to work on, like actual things that would work, instead of picking the most boring things to get people in. Because if you give someone something fun, they'll get into it.
Yeah, and teachers have to realize that it's not the same way that they learn this. No, but really, teachers mainly do have to focus, and there's ways to change. What I was trying to say is like, it's not the same way it was, give or take 20 years ago.
Yeah, kids change. It's a different age of kids. They do different things.
It's technology.
Social media affects them more than they ever had.
A baby gets born and they go right to their iPad.
Yeah.
Kid you not. Almost every single kid in America has at least an iPad. Almost every kid, maybe in Europe.
Or they do something. They watch TV. And that's something they didn't have 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Like as bad as it is now, and they just get into social media, and then it gets worse for their mental health.
Exactly, and you have to realize. I mean, yes, there's good things.
There's also bad things, though. Where everything has goods and bads.
Yeah, like our school, we have that core. That's. I guess it could work.
It could work, but it doesn't work. It really doesn't work.
So what I would say is like some things that they could like kind of work on for the students at least is get some like training to at least make them know what the signs could possibly lead to, because a new day and age, maybe back then like a new sign could be like, oh, they're really down or something like that.
But it's
right?
completely different now because kids hide their facts.
We can hide it really well.
Yes, and I mean lots of people do it.
Exactly.
It's just a normal thing. They don't want people knowing how they feel because then they can get made fun of. That's why they don't open up about anything. And
about like the parents grew up in maybe like 1990s, and they learn from their parents, because their parents probably from like 1960s. They learn not to express their emotions, and so that parent is showing that kid to not show their expressions. And so the emotions now aren't going to be as visible because we can hide them now.
People feel like if they show emotions, they're weak.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
And mainly men too.
Yeah, mainly men. And then when they do it, like they get hurt more because they won't tell anybody anything, because every time they do it, they think they're weak inside and they can't let down and talk to anybody.
Exactly. So that's what I think. I think teachers could, try to focus on something called spot the signs, right? It's basically training to show teachers how to recognize the signs of mental health and concerns in students. Another thing they could do is like create safe spaces, but most people think safe spaces is like a setup, to be honest, because if you go to therapy and your parents signed you up, you could
half the time therapy, people don't enjoy therapy because half of them don't even want to do it, and then if they don't want to do it, it doesn't do anything for them. It's useless. It's just
because it's like you talking to a stranger.
You're talking to a stranger about your life, and you're just like, I don't want to tell this person what's going on, and then they just sit there and expect you to tell them what's going on, and you don't want to tell them anything.
Because it's hard to open.
It's hard to open up to a person you've never met and just tell them what's wrong, and then you walk out of there and you've earned nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing they could do is do mental health into the curriculum, right? That could also work, but we already do that every other week, and with core, and it's not really working.
It's not working.
So yeah, to be honest, what I think they can now do is like try to figure out and talk to some students about how teachers can realize what actually is going on. They can ask questions about, oh, what if this happening? They could ask questions to other students, and we can make like a little kind of like a mini program where teachers come in, like they have to come in, and some students volunteer, and they show them like what they think about.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you for tuning in to the BravesCast. I hope you all have a good day, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See you next week.